What happens when a decorated general is accused of corruption? In a shocking turn of events, Ivan Popov, the former commander of the 58th Army, found himself at the center of a scandal that rocked the military establishment. By April 2025, the Tambov Garrison Military Court convicted him of fraud and forgery, sentencing him to 5 years in a general regime penal colony, stripping him of his military rank, and imposing a hefty fine of 800,000 rubles. The trial was shrouded in secrecy, citing state secrets, leaving the public in a state of disbelief. On July 25, 2025, the Second Western Military Court upheld the verdict, much to the dismay of Popov's defense team, who expressed intentions to file an appeal. The case began last September when allegations emerged that Popov and entrepreneur Sergei Moiseev were involved in the theft of over 1,500 tons of metal products, intended for fortifications in the Zaporizhzhia region. The damage was estimated to exceed 100 million rubles, with claims suggesting that these actions were orchestrated by an organized group taking advantage of their official positions. The courtroom proceedings were conducted behind closed doors, intensifying public scrutiny and speculation. Moiseev, who led a small company registered as a microenterprise, was also implicated in the scandal. Interestingly, his business was linked to Elena Tsukova, the widow of Lieutenant General Oleg Tsokov, a longtime associate of Popov, who had died tragically in 2023. The investigation hinted at deeper connections, suggesting that the case might involve more than just fraud. Despite the serious allegations, Popov maintained his innocence, claiming he was being targeted for his outspoken views on military issues. He argued that his commitment to defending the country was being overshadowed by a bureaucratic witch hunt. As the defense sought to call witnesses, including high-ranking military officials, their requests were denied, raising questions about the fairness of the trial. With the appeal process pending, the implications of this case extended beyond Popov's fate. It raised critical questions about military integrity and accountability, leaving many wondering, who truly benefits when a respected general is sidelined from the battlefield? The answer may reveal a troubling narrative about power struggles within the military hierarchy, as the voices of the people grow louder in demanding justice and transparency. As the story unfolds, the stakes are high. Will Ivan Popov reclaim his honor, or will he remain a casualty in a game of political chess that threatens national security? The public's interest in this saga continues to grow, with many viewing Popov's plight as a symbol of the struggle against entrenched bureaucratic corruption. The future of this case may well redefine the parameters of loyalty, service, and justice within the military ranks. In the previous part, we explored the background of a firm linked to Elena Tsukova, the widow of a high-ranking general. The investigation initially implicated her late husband, General Oleg Tsokov, who tragically lost his life in 2023. His posthumous honor as Hero of Russia deepens the complex web surrounding the charges against General Ivan Popov. The courtroom was heavy with tension. Once celebrated General Ivan Popov found himself facing a stark reality, a conviction that sentenced him to 5 years in a penal colony. Accusations of fraud and misuse of power hung over him like dark clouds, while entrepreneurial associate Sergei Moiseev received a 4-year term, acknowledged his wrongdoing, and seemed to collaborate with the very authorities seeking to dismantle Popov's legacy. With the appellate court's silence in late July reaffirming the original verdict, Popov maintained his innocence. His calls for reinstatement echoed through the walls of confinement, but the judge's gavel had rendered a firm decision, leaving him to wrestle with his fate. Ironically, amidst the legal tribulations, the administration of the Zaporizhzhia region opted out, refusing to claim victimhood in this convoluted saga, transforming the courtroom into a battlefield devoid of a clear adversary. By September 4, 2025, the decision against Popov was set in stone, unless higher courts decided otherwise. The looming specter of an appeal now hovered above him, and his defense team pressed forward, revealing discrepancies in the prosecution's case. They lamented their inability to summon witnesses who could exonerate him, insisting that the entire case hinged on Moiseev's confessions. But one notable name was forever silenced. General Tsokov was no longer available to clarify his possible connections to Popov's charges. Meanwhile, the trail of deceit thickened with allegations of forged signatures. In a dramatic revelation, the defense declared that documents attributed to Popov bore fake handwriting, raising questions about the integrity of the evidence. Outside, whispers of his plight permeated through the air, stirring emotions, as even his allies in the military began to question the validity of the accusations. How could a battle-hardened leader now be rendered a mere puppet in someone else's dangerous game? The implications of this judicial process reached deeper than one person's fate. They challenged the very essence of military honor against a backdrop of betrayal. Will justice ever truly be served? As pressure mounts from all sides, the question lingers, who stands to gain from silencing a general trained for war, now captured by the chains of legal misfortune? Ivan Popov, a general revered for his battlefield prowess, stood at the center of a storm, stripped not only of his freedom but also of his honor. His journey from the trenches to a military courtroom revealed a harrowing narrative. While atop the ranks, he was renowned for engaging directly with soldiers, sharing their burdens, and earning their unwavering loyalty. He was not a bureaucrat hidden behind a desk, he was a warrior among warriors. Yet now, while other generals faced accusations of corruption and betrayal, Popov's case struck a different chord. It was more than just personal misfortune, it represented a national security issue. Popov openly criticized the Ministry of Defense, highlighting severe deficiencies in counter-battery warfare and lethal shortages of ammunition affecting soldiers' lives. His candid video address, initially meant for internal channels, leaked into broader political realms, marking him as a voice of unvarnished truth. Was his honesty a liability in a system riddled with deceit? His forthrightness distinguished him from colleagues, many of whom now faced scrutiny behind bars for their misdeeds. Unlike Timur Ivanov, the former deputy minister of defense embroiled in scandal, or Yuri Kuznetsov, linked to extravagant corruption, Popov's assets were modest, a government apartment and a few plots of land. No palatial estates or luxury cars adorned his life. The critical question lingered in the air: who benefits from a battle-hardened general languishing in a courtroom instead of leading on the front lines? The enemy undoubtedly reveled in the sight of a trusted commander sidelined, risking the strength of the nation's defenses. Popov's trial became emblematic of a much larger conflict, where loyalty to one's country faced the machinations of an entrenched bureaucratic system. As his plight drummed in the background of the public consciousness, campaigns of curiosity flourished. Commentators and civilians alike began to ponder, was this a simple case of justice or a deeper game of power, one designed to silence those who dared defy the status quo? The narrative hinted at a sweeping reckoning within the military and political landscapes of the nation. Would the truth emerge, or would it be swallowed by the forces that fear it most? In this tense atmosphere, Popov stood resolute, voicing his discontent. "I'm forced to fight for my rights," he declared, echoing through the sterile halls of the courtroom where his authority was scrutinized. The very right to defend his name was stripped away, plunging him into a position that felt profoundly unjust. Could he reclaim his narrative before it faded into the shadows of forgotten military histories? The insistent drumbeat of inquiry echoed in the hearts of those who had once revered him as a soldier leader. The very fabric of national security hung in the balance. In the tumultuous landscape of military service, a whisper echoed: why is a trusted field commander facing trial instead of leading troops into battle? This question encapsulates the troubling saga surrounding General Ivan Popov. The theater of war hoped for his presence, yet here he sat, embroiled in allegations that could undermine national security. The issue extended beyond Popov. It was emblematic of deeper issues haunting the military and political fabric of the nation. As investigative scrutiny tightened, it became increasingly evident that Popov's predicament was more than just a personal crisis. The authorities were clearly benefiting from his detainment, leaving many to wonder who stood to gain from silencing a seasoned commander respected by his men. The growing discontent among the ranks and the public mirrored a cultural rift where loyalty clashed with accountability. More and more, analysts and citizens alike considered Popov's case a touchstone of the broader struggles within the military hierarchy. As the nation grappled with geopolitical tensions, the spotlight intensified on those possessing the acumen and genuine backing of their peers. General Popov had always been a fearless soldier, unafraid to voice uncomfortable truths, a trait likely drawing ire from those ensconced in bureaucratic power. This judicial pursuit was increasingly interpreted as a power struggle within the military establishment, a battle for who would shape the rules of engagement in the coming years, a fight intensified by public interest and the pressing need for transparency. The dialogue around Popov shifted from hushed tones to roaring discussions across social platforms and analytical forums. Why is a hero now on the defensive? People began to ask loudly, creating a groundswell of concern over the integrity of military leadership. With each turn of the legal wheel, Popov's story became a reflection of the transformative moment faced by the nation, a critical juncture in which the spirit of honesty and duty found itself at odds with a system resistant to change. In a world where trust had eroded, Popov's loyalty to his soldiers and his commitment to his country stood stark against the backdrop of corruption and betrayal that plagued many of his contemporaries. This clash of ideals set the stage for an explosive showdown, challenging the very core of military honor and duty, as the cast of characters continued to shift in this gripping saga. And just when it seemed the narrative was settling, new evidence, a forged signature, whispers of elusive witnesses, emerged, threatening to overturn everything once more. Would this spell a new chapter for a wartime leader fighting not only for his freedom but for the very heart of a nation? The audience held its breath. In recent discussions, the spotlight has turned toward General Popov, raising a critical question: why is a respected frontline leader finding himself on trial? This dissonance has sparked widespread distrust in official structures and prompted authorities to navigate between maintaining control and responding to public demands. Adding complexity to the situation is the international perspective. Within Western analytical circles, General Popov's case is viewed as a symptom of deeper issues within the Russian military. Some interpret this as a sign of a waning power structure, while others perceive it as a necessary process of cleansing and internal reform. Regardless, the narrative transcends mere military conflict, becoming a key element in a grand geopolitical chess game, where every event in Russia is scrutinized for its implications on the future global order. Consequently, General Popov's fate evolves beyond a simple personal tragedy, morphing into a significant symbolic factor. This shift has ignited discussions regarding the role of the officer corps, the limits of permissible criticism within the system, and the future of Russian society amid a prolonged standoff with the West. Each court session and public defense statement serves as a marker of the trajectory for the political and military elite, indicating whether they are heading toward consolidation or deepening contradictions. Amid these unstable dynamics, one question resonates louder than the rest: will the truths of battlefield leadership ultimately prevail over bureaucratic obstacles? As the echoes of General Popov's struggle reverberate through society, the outcome may redefine the principles of loyalty and justice within the military. Expect shocking twists and unexpected revelations that could change everything we thought we knew about power and honor. In the previous segment, the defense highlighted serious concerns regarding the integrity of the evidence presented against General Ivan Popov. They claimed that a signature on crucial documents was forged, with forensic analysis confirming it did not belong to him. Despite their requests to summon key witnesses to clarify the situation, the court denied their pleas, raising suspicions about the fairness of the proceedings. Amidst this turmoil, the defense revealed a shocking twist: the signature attributed to General Popov was indeed a forgery. Investigations proved that the handwriting did not match his. This revelation sent ripples through the courtroom. Lawyers sought to summon Valery Gerasimov, the chief of the general staff, along with 8 other officers who could validate vital details regarding Popov's urgent requests for defense reinforcements. Yet, just days later, on September 1, news broke that their request was denied. To make matters worse, the defense faced a ticking clock. They were not granted extra time to review the extensive case files, despite Popov and his legal team insisting it was physically impossible to prepare adequately. The prosecution, undeterred, rushed the case to trial without waiting for the appellate court's decision on the matter. Their motion to transfer the trial to the Zaporizhia region, where the alleged crime occurred, was also rejected. Defense attorney Sergei Bainovsky vehemently argued that the investigation was incomplete and biased, lacking objective analysis and breaching procedural laws. Adding to the chaos, General Popov was under house arrest. Effectively isolated from the outside world. He felt the walls closing in, as he expressed to reporters on September 2, "I have been stripped of my right to a defense. The court refuses to allow witnesses who could clarify the circumstances and prove my innocence. All our motions are dismissed. Instead of serving my country, I find myself in a courtroom where my voice is unheard. It is profoundly unjust." Colleagues and fellow generals noted that Ivan Popov always belonged to the ranks of field commanders, someone who shared the burden of service with his soldiers, not a desk officer hiding behind paper trails. But the tension mounts. Why are they silencing a leader who fought bravely on the front lines? What hidden agendas are at play in this courtroom battle? As the shadows of doubt loom larger, the stakes have never been higher. The question remains, who stands to gain from this orchestrated downfall of a dedicated general? In the last installment, we explored the thorny terrain of Ivan Popov's legal troubles, centered primarily on the confessions of an entrepreneur, Sergei Moiseev. Unfortunately, key witnesses like Lieutenant General Oleg Tsokov, who could refute many claims, are no longer accessible, having died in 2023. An alarming detail emerged regarding the use of a forged signature, casting further doubts on the integrity of the evidence presented. As the defense team raised serious concerns about their case, they claimed that a forged signature allegedly belonging to General Popov appeared in the documents submitted by the prosecution. Handwriting analysis indicated that the signature did not match the general's. They submitted a motion to summon the Chief of General Staff, Valery Gerasimov, along with 8 other officers who could potentially clarify critical details and support Popov's report on the urgent need for enhanced defense measures. Yet, by September 1, news broke that their request had been denied. Moreover, the defense was not granted additional time to sift through the extensive case files, despite Popov and his lawyers' declarations about the physical impossibility of examining all materials. Without awaiting the appellate court's decision on these matters, the investigation hurriedly passed the case to trial. The defense requested to relocate the proceedings to the Zaporizhia region, where the alleged crimes were said to have taken place. However, this request was also dismissed. Attorney Sergei Bainovsky emphasized that the investigation was incomplete and biased, lacking in objective analysis and violating procedural laws. The situation was exacerbated by Popov being under house arrest, isolating him effectively. Denied outdoor exercise and forced to remain confined indoors, he felt increasingly cornered. On September 2, Popov spoke to journalists with remarkable candor. "I have effectively been stripped of my right to defend myself," he stated, frustration echoing in his voice. "The court does not allow me to question witnesses who could elucidate the circumstances and show that I had no motive for the alleged crime. Every application we submit is dismissed." Popov's colleagues, many of whom rose through the ranks as field commanders rather than office-bound bureaucrats, acknowledged his sincere dedication to duty. They noted that he has always been seen engaging directly with soldiers on the front lines, fostering a reputation for honesty that his men relied on. But amidst this turmoil arises a more significant question: is there more at play in Popov's legal battle than just allegations of fraud? As whispers of a power struggle within the military circulate, one must wonder, who truly benefits from sidelining a battle-hardened general such as Ivan Popov? Their answers could change the fate not just of Popov, but of national security as a whole. Would the price of sacrificing a respected commander merely to appease political agendas outweigh the broader consequences? As this tense saga unfolds, the next twists and turns are just around the corner, and they may well redefine the balance of power from the front lines to the judicial halls.